Public transit is the beating heart of any modern city. When it works, it connects people, powers economies, reduces traffic, and helps fight climate change. But when it fails, it wastes billions, frustrates commuters, and leaves entire cities paralyzed in gridlock. Around the world, ambitious transit projects have promised futuristic solutions, sleek trains, magnetic monorails, and seamless commutes. But not all of them delivered. Some collapsed under technical issues. Others were victims of poor planning, political infighting, or unrealistic expectations. From Detroit to Delhi, from Hawaii to Venezuela, these are the transit systems that failed miserably, and the hard lessons they left behind. The Detroit People Mover, a loop to nowhere. Detroit's People Mover was designed in the 1980s as part of a much larger urban renewal plan. Originally intended to be just one piece of a citywide transit network, the 2.9-mile elevated loop became the entire system when funding for expansion disappeared. The result? A single-track automated train that loops around mostly empty downtown blocks, often with more cars than passengers. Key issues: extremely low ridership. In some years, it averaged under 2,000 riders per day. High operating cost. The cost per rider is among the highest of any U.S. system. Limited utility. It doesn't connect to neighborhoods or job hubs. Lack of integration with buses or regional transit. While it's still operational, many locals and experts question its purpose, serving more as a relic of 1980s optimism than a viable transportation solution. Ottawa's LRT. The frozen fail. Canada's capital city launched its Confederation Line in 2019 to much fanfare, branding it as a modern light rail system to transform Ottawa's downtown. But things went wrong almost immediately. Trains broke down in cold weather, a critical flaw in one of the snowiest cities in North America. Doors jammed. Systems froze. In one case, a train derailed due to a mechanical failure. Poor construction and rushed testing were later revealed, with whistleblowers citing ignored safety concerns. Residents endured months of delays, breakdowns, and emergency evacuations. A public inquiry later revealed deep-rooted project management issues and insufficient oversight. Ottawa's LRT became a case study in how poor planning and political pressure can derail even the most ambitious systems. La's early metro. Too little, too late. Los Angeles was once home to the Pacific Electric Railway, the largest electric railway system in the world. But by the mid-20th century, it was dismantled in favor of highways and cars. So when LA finally began rebuilding its metro rail in the 1990s, the damage was already done. Key problems: too few lines for such a sprawling city. Limited reach. Suburban areas were left unserved. Cultural resistance. Decades of car culture meant many Angelenos didn't trust public transit. Underfunded and overpromised projects led to slow expansion. Though La Metro has improved significantly over time, especially with new lines ahead of the 2028 Olympics, its early missteps meant missing decades of potential progress. Honolulu Rail Project. Billions over budget. In Hawaii, the Honolulu Rail Transit Project was meant to be a high-tech, elevated light rail connecting West Oahu to downtown Honolulu. But it's become one of the most delayed and over-budget transit projects in American history. Originally budgeted at around $5 billion, costs have since ballooned to over $12 billion. With fewer stations, more delays, and construction headaches. Major issues: legal disputes over land acquisition, cultural and environmental opposition, questionable ridership projections, technical challenges due to terrain and infrastructure. Despite years of setbacks, only partial service is available as of 2023, leaving many residents frustrated and skeptical. The Caracas Metro. Infrastructure collapse. Venezuela's Caracas Metro was once considered a model transit system in Latin America. It was fast, affordable, and widely used. But political and economic crises turned it into a symbol of national decay. Problems today include severe underfunding, train breakdowns and delays, stations without lights or functioning escalators, rampant theft of cables and equipment, daily overcrowding and lack of safety protocols. The system still operates, but barely. It's a tragic example of how even successful transit can collapse without proper funding and governance. The Mumbai Monorail, expensive and unused. India's first monorail, launched in Mumbai, was promoted as a modern transit alternative for one of the most congested cities in the world. But the project flopped. Key failures: tiny reach, only 19 kilometers of track, and poorly placed stations. Ridership far below projections. Frequent technical breakdowns and delays. Poor integration with Mumbai's bus and train systems. At one point, the monorail shut down for over 10 months due to a fire incident. Despite high costs and years of effort, it serves fewer than 10,000 people per day in a city of over 20 million. The Sydney monorail, shut down and scrapped. Australia's largest city once had a futuristic monorail that quickly became a joke. The Sydney monorail, built in the late 1980s, was a single-loop tourist attraction disguised as a transit system. It didn't connect to suburbs or major employment zones, had only 8 stations, struggled with low ridership and high operating costs, was eventually bought by the government and demolished in 2013. Why? Because it did virtually nothing to reduce car use or traffic congestion. Jakarta, a bus rapid transit bottleneck. Jakarta, Indonesia, one of the world's most densely populated urban areas, launched Jakarta in 2004 as the world's longest bus rapid transit (BRT) system at the time. Modeled after successful BRTs in Latin America, it was meant to provide a low-cost, high-efficiency alternative to chaotic traffic and gridlock. At its peak, it served over 1 million passengers daily, but systemic failures quickly turned the system into a frustrating bottleneck rather than a solution. Key issues: severe congestion. Dedicated bus lanes were often illegally used by private vehicles, undermining the whole concept. Overcrowding and unreliable service. Long wait times, limited buses, and unpredictable schedules made the system unreliable for commuters. Poor infrastructure maintenance, aging buses, crumbling shelters, and traffic light miscoordination led to operational inefficiencies. Corruption and mismanagement. Several scandals involving procurement and planning hampered upgrades and improvements. Although Jakarta has seen periodic improvements and modernization attempts, it remains a symbol of a good idea poorly executed, a reminder that even cost-effective mass transit models can fail without proper governance and enforcement. Common threads in transit failures. So what do these failed systems have in common? Overpromising and underdelivering. Ambitious ridership projections with no real basis. Political interference. Projects fast-tracked for elections or legacy purposes. Poor integration. Systems that don't link with buses, bikes, or other rail networks. Lack of climate or cultural context. Building snow-sensitive tech in snow-heavy cities. Neglected maintenance and staffing, leading to system decay even when infrastructure is sound. Whether it's a failed monorail or a collapsing subway, the lesson is clear. You can't build successful transit on technology alone. You need planning, funding, political stability, and community trust. Public transportation is more than steel rails and shiny stations. It's a promise, a commitment to access, mobility, and equity. When systems fail, they don't just waste money. They waste time, opportunity, and trust. If this video gave you insight into the real challenges of urban mobility, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive documentaries, and drop a comment below.